Namaskar. My name is Dr. Alka Pandey and I'm an art historian and a curator. Welcome to the Bihar Museum, the biggest, largest public museum in South Asia, spread over 5.6 hectares. The museum has one of the largest collections of the plural culture of India and succinctly illustrates Professor A.L. Basham's favorite title, The Wonder That is India. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the first President of India, aptly captures the essence and significance of Bihar through the following comments. It is no exaggeration to say that for centuries the history of India was but the history of Bihar writ large. The brainchild of the Chief Minister of Bihar, Shri Nitish Kumar, the Bihar Museum is emblematic of his vision for the preservation of the tangible and intangible cultural tradition of the state. Bihar is the embodiment of India, a melting pot of cultures, of religions, and of people. It is in itself the manifestations of many Indias. The metropolis India, the rural India, the literate India, the scientific India, the vernacular India, the tribal India. Bihar holds them all within its welcoming embrace. And it also holds space for the large Bihari diaspora that migrated towards the West. It is in advancing this representation of the tangible and the intangible that the Chief Minister of Bihar, Shri Nitish Kumar, dreamed up his vision for the Bihar Museum, a marriage between high art and folk art, a representation of the ethnic diversity that constitutes Bihar. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to a virtual experience of the Bihar Museum, which has been created specially in collaboration with the Varaha Tech Labs.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to this virtual tour experience of the Bihar Museum, created specifically for Museum Biennale 2021. With a vision to introduce new technology intervention in museum experiences, Bihar Museum partnered with Varaha Tech Labs to digitize the 3D artifacts and present them in virtual environments. Varaha Tech Labs is a technology startup created to experiment with virtual and immersive technologies for research and education purposes. Varaha produces 3D data for heritage and archaeological documentation and archival, while also providing accurate data for conservation and restoration efforts. With the help of state-of-art LiDAR or laser scanning technologies, photogrammetry, and high-resolution imagery, we're able to create incredibly realistic and extremely accurate 3D models of museum artifacts or even entire archaeological sites. This world-class industry standard data then becomes the basis for all possible use case scenarios, like virtual repositories, AR, MR, or XR experiences, research and collaboration platforms, and discovery portals. This further enables us to create metadata like geotile reference materials, architectural drawings with minute structural details, and topographical diagrams to enable effective restoration and conservation projects. 3D scanning technologies play a prominent role as a new way forward, especially in digitalization and documentation of museum exhibits, thus allowing students, researchers, academics, conservationists, and public to have easy access to these globally. This also allows for better collaborations and knowledge sharing of one's rich heritage. Endeavor is not to replace physical museum experience, but to bridge the gap, making the artifacts more accessible for even someone who cannot physically make it to the museum spaces. The Bihar Museum and Varaha Tech Labs work closely together to create a virtual gallery for Bihar Museum, the official host of Museum Biennale 2021. It's a special occasion for us, and we are very excited to present this small virtual representation of the massive Bihar Museum collection. The virtual environment for the Bihar Museum Virtual Gallery is a fully navigable 3D space with an intuitive navigation setup. You can easily navigate through the virtual space by simply clicking in the direction you want to explore. It is possible for you to look around, go close to an exhibit, and click on it to see further details. The responsive 3D visualizer is also very intuitive and gives one 360-degree freedom of movement and explore the artifact in depth.
Now, without any further ado, let us move into the virtual space, the virtual gallery of the Bihar Museum, celebrating the Bihar Museum Biennale 2021. Thank you, Varaha Tech Labs, for entering this wonderful virtual space and taking us on this superb journey of the virtual. We begin our journey of exploring Bihar Museum's highlights with the Padmapani Avalokiteshwar displayed in the Orientation Gallery. This gallery was created to give visitors an overview of the collection and an understanding of the curation of this museum. A rare red sandstone sculpture from the 7th century, the four-armed Padmapani Avalokiteshwara, is a manifestation of the compassionate Buddha. The sculpture brings to mind the famous mural painting of the Padmapani Avalokiteshwar within the interior of a rock-cut Buddhist monastery at Ajanta. It is believed that the Avalokiteshwar guards the world in the interval between the departure of the historical Buddha and the appearance of the future Buddha, Maitreya. Miniature pot. These miniature pots, made of terracotta, are from the Harappan period, dated between 2600 and 1900 before the Common Era. The Indus Valley Civilization is the earliest known settlement of the Indian subcontinent, which was spread over modern-day India and Pakistan. Excavations in the 19th and 20th centuries revealed the existence of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, the two great cities of the Indus Valley Civilization, along the Indus River Valley in Punjab and Sindh. This period is often referred to as Harappan in the history of Indian art, and the civilization's contribution to pottery and metallurgy is unmatchable. Mahavir. Bihar is a land of religious confluence where many religions and beliefs have either originated or thrived. Mahavir in particular was a prominent religious leader and was given the title Jina, which meant he was a conqueror of inner enemies such as greed, attachment, and pride. This exquisite bronze sculpture, titled Mahavir, is placed over a small lotus Pitha, the 24th and last Tirthankar or pathfinder of Jainism. Mahavir hailed from the city of Vaishali and is acknowledged as the 24th great teacher of his tradition. Inscribed circular stone tablet. This inscribed circular stone tablet is dated around the 4th to 6th century. Although many archaeologists are of the belief that it is of 10th century origin. The tablet was found around the sacred site of Gaya, where souls can attain salvation. However, the artifact is an important addition in our journey through the museum, as it highlights the golden era of art, that is, the Gupta period, which is known for magnificent sculptures and figurines made out of distinctively different stones, many of which were exported from Nalanda in Bihar. Buddha heads. Here we find a selection of Buddhist heads of varying sizes ascribed to the 1st century Common Era from the Kushan dynasty. There is a visible Greco-Roman influence on the features and headgear of many of these stone figurines. This eclectic confluence of cultures is visible in the art of the Kushan period, such as these Buddha heads that are on display here at the Bihar Museum. The Gandhara Bodhisattvas therefore bear a strong resemblance to the Greeks and Romans, noticeable through elements such as curly hair, the top knot hairstyle, heavy drapery and defined headgears. Lady with a Parrot. The delight that the mind and heart experience in enjoying the objects of the natural world of the five senses is kama. A famous quote from the Mahabharata. The Lady with a Parrot is an example of architectural sculptures which often adorned the pillars and columns of public places, temples, buildings, etc. The sculptural form of the lady is a meditation on desire and beauty. Four-armed goddess. This four-armed goddess was discovered in an excavation in the Mundeshwari temple located at Kora in the Kaimur district of Bihar. The temple is dedicated to Shiva and Shakti, and here the Devi's Varahi Ambika form is worshipped. The sculpture of the four-armed goddess is that of a Yakshini, mischievous, sometimes benevolent, sometimes capricious. Fittingly, they are the custodians of treasure hidden within the earth, and as such are powerful magicians and shapeshifters. The Yakshini here stands with a mace and another weapon of battle in her upper hands, with her lower right hand folded in the Abhay Mudra and her lower left hand at her waist. This form of the Yakshini is sturdy, stable, and rather earthy. It depicts her as a benevolent protector of the Mundeshwari temple. Maitreyi. In the Buddhist tradition, the Maitreyi is the future Buddha, a bodhisattva residing in the Tushita heaven, who will descend to earth to preach a new dharma or law when the teachings of Gautam Buddha or Shakyamuni Buddha have completely decayed. The name Maitreyi is derived from the Sanskrit Maitreyi or friendliness, and his worship was specially popular around from the 4th to the 9th century of the Common Era. Bihar, which is home to the spiritual gem of Bodh Gaya and Vaishali, has always had deep abiding roots of Buddhism intertwined with its cultural legacy, and the popularity of the Maitreyi as a sculptural ornament in temples and monasteries continued to exist. The Maitreyi is depicted with the characteristic air of expectancy and promise that defined its place as a Buddhist deity. Kurkehar Buddha bronze with door jamb. The metal sculpture collection here in the Bihar Museum is a testimony to the high level of technical perfection in metal art in India. Kurkehar was one of the most important regions of bronze production during the Pala dynasty from the 8th to the 12th century of the Common Era. The Kurkehar bronze before you is a depiction of Buddha and was crafted out of an alloy of 8 metals or Ashtadhatu. The sculpture is stylistically different from the more common stone sculptures found in the region of Bihar. The features of the Buddha here retain the overall character of depiction of Buddha from the Gupta Empire in terms of the curved outlines of the lips and eyes. Yet the exquisitely designed and detailed drapery adds a distinctive element of grace to the sculpture. The Buddha is crafted in a more slender and elongated form as compared to previous depictions. Almost 200 such bronzes were excavated at Kurkehar in 1930, and these were placed within the splendid collection of the Patna Museum. The majority of this collection is currently housed at the prestigious Indian Museum in Kolkata. Persian tile. Dated around 17th to 18th century of the Common Era, this artifact is a brick tile decorated with the Persian style of painting. Persian tiles were a common decorative element of old houses in the city of Patna during this period. This particular tile has also been excavated from one such old house. The Persian style of painting was introduced in India during the Mughal rule, when the second mighty emperor of the dynasty, Humayun, returned to India from his exile in Iran and brought with him a retinue of Iranian artists and scholars. Persian art and culture were at the peak of sophistication during this period and majorly influenced the development of a new and syncretic Mughal style of painting in India, which flourished for the next few generations. Since Bihar was an important region within the Mughal Empire and remained under the Mughal rule until the Battle of Plassey in 1757, there exists a significant collection of Mughal and Persian artifacts at the museum. Sher Shah Suri's Rupaiya, 1540 to 1545 of the Common Era. After defeating Humayun, when Sher Shah Suri ascended the throne of Delhi, he issued coins of silver and copper. The silver coins were known as Rupaiya, which to this date is the term widely used for the Indian currency, and the copper coins for large transactions were called paisa. The Rupaiya has been a rich source of historical facts. The silver coins are inscribed with the Islamic kalima La ilaha ilaha Muhammad ul Rasul Allah, meaning there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is the Prophet of Allah. The coins also carried the name of the first four holy Khalifas, that is Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman and Ali. These coins, with their inscriptions, were not only one of the most significant currency forms developed in India, but they were also a representation of the loyalty afforded to the Sur leaders. Some of the minted coins also have a Devanagari script on them, which translates Sri Ser Sahi, or the name of Sher Shah Suri. Ivory figurines, 19th century of the Common Era, Murshidabad. These ivory figurines are secular in character, depicting the plurality of the Indian tradition and also the plurality of Bihar, which had become a basin of cultural and philosophical influences. The artisans took their inspiration from folk characters in both Hindu tales and legends and Islamic folklore. These figurines showed beasts such as the royal elephant or the ambari with his sturdy legs carved exquisitely along with all the necessary adornments readying for the royal procession. The patronage from the aristocrats had given much impetus to the creation of such figurines as wares to be sold in the markets. It was at the height of the glory and splendor of the Nawabs that the artisans used their lives as the model for their work. Hookah maker, Patna Kalam, late 18th century of the Common Era. Here we have a Patna Kalam painting depicting two artisans handcrafting a hookah, an oriental tobacco pipe. The Patna Kalam school of painting was developed in the city of Patna, Bihar in the 18th and 19th century of the Common Era. The subject matter of the Mughal miniatures was the lives of the Mughal emperors or nobility. In some cases, they were scenes from poems, tales and legends, but none of them ever focused on the trials and tribulations of the common folk. This beautiful form, which is dealt with the humble subject matter, was done on equally common mediums that were readily available to the artisan, such as mica, paper, and ivory discs worn as a brooch. Quran Illuminated Manuscript. We now stand before an exquisitely ornamented and illuminated manuscript of the Holy Book of Quran, attributed to around 18th century of the Common Era. Revealed to the Prophet Muhammad by the Archangel Gabriel, the Quran is considered by Muslims to be the written record of the Word of God. Given its importance in Islamic culture, there came about a surge in the production of such illuminated manuscripts, especially in the royal ateliers, since it involved a significant expense. The pages feature the kalma, that is, the first prayer written in the Persian script, and have been meticulously illustrated using natural pigments made of gold, silver, and lapis lazuli. Bihar has been a point of confluence of all the 5 great faiths of the subcontinent, Islam being one of the major religions. To this day, spiritual Bihar has been the abode of salvation, a place where great religious philosophies have been preserved and celebrated. Ranjit Singh, mid-18th century of the Common Era, painting on ivory. This miniature portrait of Maharaja Ranjit Singh was painted on ivory. Such items were products that were sold to visiting tourists and were quite popular in the country's capital city of Delhi. However, in this particular case, the piece could very well have been a commissioned work for a noble house. The brush strokes on closer examination are quite primitive and not finely defined, which implies that it is a lesser work, perhaps a practice effort even. Didarganj Yakshi. You now stand before the glory of the Bihar Museum, the magnificent Didarganj Yakshi, a confluence of royalty, culture, and learning. The Didarganj Yakshi epitomizes the beauty of classical Indian sculpture. 5 feet 2 inches tall, this statue, made of Chunar sandstone, was discovered in 1917, the same year as the official establishment of the Patna Museum. The Yakshi, depicted holding a chauri or fly whisk in her hand, embodies the ultimate feminine beauty of pre-modern India. Her figure is voluptuous with a full bust, slender at the waist and wide at the hips. Perhaps what is also striking about the statue is the endearing grace of her posture and demeanor. The Yakshi stoops slightly forward instead of standing upright, seeking a posture of humility. The smile on her lips is elusive yet hauntingly sweet, which is why she is referred to as the Mona Lisa of India. Smiling Girl, 2nd century before the Common Era. Mauryan period, terracotta, Bulandi Bagh, Patna. The smiling girl from the Mauryan period is symbolic of the heights to which the sculptural arts had climbed under the Mauryans. It first of all shows the influences that were existing in those times on the art of the region because of the closely fostered ties between the Mauryan kings and the Greek envoys. This is seen with the Hellenistic or Greek fashions adopted in the headdress and hair adornments of the small bust. The second thing that jumps out is the fine etching of the features, as though the expression has been molded into the terracotta bust. The smiling girl is a perfect example of this. When we look at the restraint and the coy expression of the woman, it gives us a glimpse into the socio-political landscape, especially when seen in comparison to the small bust of the smiling boy. Smiling boy, 2nd century before the Common Era, Mauryan period, terracotta, Bulandi Bagh, Patna. The smiling boy is the companion bust to the smiling girl. Unlike the coy, almost self-conscious expression of the smiling girl, the features and the expression of joy on the smiling boy's face is unrestrained and open. It seems as though his entire face breaks into laughter in a single instance captured in clay by the artist. There is no masking by etiquette, no holding back with restraint like the smiling girl. This is depictive of the societal norms and freedom that were experienced differently by men and women in the Mauryan period. Here too, we find the evidence of elaborate styles of the Hellenistic period in the headdresses worn by the men, which means that certain sophistication and the art of the dress in the Mauryan court was inspired by the Greeks. The dancing girl sculptures, 3rd century before the Common Era, Mauryan period, terracotta. These two sculptures of the dancing girl tell us a lot about the close ties that existed between India and the Greeks during the Mauryan rule. The sculptor shows the dancer's movement through the flurry of her skirt floating around her. In one hand the damuru, or two-headed drum held above her head in a play of rhythm and motion. Her other hand by her waist as she keeps to the beat of the music. The first sculpture shows an intricate headdress, which is another borrowing from the Greeks who popularized the elaborate hairdos and decorations. The way the drapes fall against the form of both the dancing girls, close to the body, but in a sideward motion, speak of the skill of the craftsmen who were able to render realistically the experience of nritya or dance and shringar or embellishment through their work in terracotta or clay. The exquisite expression of pleasure and animation on the features of the figurines, the graceful movement of their hands, skillful and precise, is the depiction of the rasas capable of arousing the essence of emotions. Gargoyle. This gargoyle from the 12th century of the Common Era is an elaborately carved water spout, a common architectural element prevalent in pre-modern Hindu temples of Southeast Asia. The word gargoyle is actually of European origin, as they became an integral addition to churches in Europe from the 12th century of the Common Era onwards. Seen here is a gargoyle or a carved grotesque from an Indian temple with a spout on one end which was used to drain sacred water from the sanctum sanctorum. To explain the iconography in brief, the elongated creature is a makara, a legendary sea animal in Hindu mythology who is trying to swallow the sacred water, while a yaksha, positioned at the front, is applying force to keep the makara's snout open so the water can be drained out instead. The makar has been rendered with folds on the forehead and bulging eyes in order to suggest this tussle between the two creatures. Bihula Vishari Folklore, Manjusha, Ulupi Kumari, 2017. Acrylic on canvas. Manjusha is a beautiful form of folk art from the Anga region in Bhagalpur, Bihar. It uses only 3 bold colors in the entire depiction of a scene. These scenes are shown in the order in which the story unfolds, each window of the painting showing the next happening in the story. It can be considered as a forerunner to the modern graphic novel or comic book, but locally in Bihar, it is known as a scroll painting. The panels of the Manjusha painting follow the legends and tales of Vishari Devi, a snake goddess who is the Manas Putri or adopted daughter of Lord Shiva. Adi Shakti, Sharad Kumar, 2017, Papier-Mâché. Adi Shakti is the supreme goddess, the divine mother or the mother goddess. And in the Indic tradition, she is the very embodiment of the divine feminine. She is Shakti, or the energy of the universe in her most fundamental form, and that is how she is best understood. Parashakti, the first energy of the divine, or Prakriti, the one who gives rise to life in nature. Mahamaya, the knowledge that frees one from illusion of the world, or Maya, Mahavidya, the greatest knowledge of the divine. Sama Chakeba folklore. One must look no further than the rich tradition displayed within this regional gallery to understand the ease with which the tangible and the intangible come together in Bihar's aesthetic tradition, where to this day the 2,500-year-old folk art is very much relevant, alive, and thriving. The artwork before us is a terracotta sculpture by the artist Rajat Ghosh, an alumnus of the Patna College of Arts and Crafts, who won the National Award for his sculptures and terracotta work in 1984. His installation is an ode to the folklore of Sama Chakeba, which is now a celebrated festival of brothers and sisters in the Mithila region. Sama, the daughter of Krishna, was falsely accused of having illicit relations with an ascetic and is turned into a bird by her father as a punishment. However, it is through the love and sacrifice of her brother Chakeba, who observes self-penance, that Sama regains her human form. The festival, dedicated to the relationship between a brother and sister, is celebrated for a total of 9 days, in which young women gather together to sing Maithili folk songs and to immerse clay idols of Sama and Chakeba as birds in the river. Rajat Ghosh's terracotta sculpture brings to the fore nuances of the tactile beauty of the medium. Bihari Diaspora Gallery. The Bihari diaspora that is scattered around India and in foreign lands such as Mauritius, Fiji, Bangladesh, the Caribbean, Myanmar, and South Africa is celebrated in the Diaspora Gallery for their significant cultural legacy preserved to this day. It stands as an example of the staying power that comes with a deep-rooted sense of self and identity. A shower of the golden orange marigold or the Genda Phool is a symbol of the sacred ceremonies in the Indic tradition. In Bihar, it is also the state flower, perhaps because of its close connection to daily culture of this region where it is found in abundance. The bright vibrancy of the marigold is connected to the sun, representing the passion and creativity of this celestial body. It is auspicious and threaded in garlands. It adorns the devas and devis. Many homes in Bihar place a garland of marigold at the entrance as it represents auspiciousness and guards against negativity. The significant Genda Phool is kept fresh in the memory of Bihar's diasporic experience by the insertion of beloved traditions in the day-to-day living of its people. Children's Gallery. The Children's Gallery brings the historic legacy of Bihar and its natural history to life. Stepping into the orientation room is a pictorial display of the Indian subcontinent. Try spotting the important cities of India and the best routes to get to them. Do you see your city in the map? The house sparrow, or the goraya as she is known locally in Bihar, is the state bird of Bihar. The goraya lives close to human habitation, our homes and offices, which is perhaps where the name house sparrow comes from. She is no longer a common sight, seen busily building a home of twigs and scraps. In an effort to prevent the endangering of the goraya, Bihar is making special efforts to build bird feeds and water basins to encourage the habitation of the bird. The Dhyani Buddha in basalt, Vishnupad, Gaya, Bihar, 17th century of the Common Era. This Buddha sculpture is from the medieval period and was found in Vishnupad, Gaya in Bihar. The Dhyani Buddha appears in a typical posture of meditation, with his hands folded and his features drawn into an expression of transcendence. Gaya has for centuries been known as an abode of salvation, an important crucible of spiritual Bihar, where souls were believed to attain moksha from the continuous cycles of rebirth. Salabhanjika Shunga period, 2nd and 1st century before the Common Era. The Salabhanjikas are celestial figures, the epitome of femininity, that are usually depicted under a stylized tree in various postures of dance. This stone sculpture of a Salabhanjika is unique for its bifacial depictions, with features appearing both at the front and at the back. She appears with her left hand raised to grasp the branch of a tree. The Salabhanjika is the perfect embodiment of fecundity and grace, and essentially the original dancer. Standing Buddha, Kushan period, 1st to 3rd century of the Common Era. Here we see a standing Buddha in black stone from the Kushan period. The artists of the Kushan period borrowed inspiration from the Greek as well as South Asian stylistic elements and created a whole new iconography of the Buddha. The standing Buddha thus appears with a placid expression, clothed in a heavy toga-like drape with a top-knot hairstyle. Architectural fragment Pala, 10th century of the Common Era. This sandstone slab was excavated from the Vishnupur region in Bihar and was presumably a part of a much larger sculpture. Ganesh, 7th century, Common Era, Benisagar, Jharkhand. In this sculpture from the 7th century of the Common Era, found in Benisagar, Jharkhand, Ganesh appears in a seated position with his trunk folding towards the modak, an Indian sweet placed in his left hand. In Hindu mythology, the iconography of Lord Ganesh is worshipped as the deity of prosperity and wealth and is a remover of obstacles. His image almost always exudes benevolence, an attribute he is well known for in Hinduism, and he is revered for his ability to remove any obstructions in the devotee's path to success and abundance. Tara, Pala dynasty, 10th to 11th century of the Common Era. Standing in Tribhang, the basalt figure of Tara was excavated in Kurkihar, Bihar. Tara holds the stem of an Utpala or lotus in the left hand, wearing a lower garment and a transparent Uttariya. She has numerous ornaments and is accompanied on the right side by the four-armed Ekajata. To the left of Tara stands a male figure, a sword in his right hand and a pash entwined in his left. The inscribed pedestal bears a seated musician. She is likely the Pragya Paramita, the wisdom goddess whose identifier is a manuscript. Surya, late Gupta period, 7th century of the Common Era. The sculpture of the god Surya dates back to the late Gupta period, 7th century of the Common Era. The sandstone sculpture was excavated in Mundeshwari, Kaimur, Bihar, and the god is depicted here with a lotus in his hand. The pedestal upon which he stands depicts 7 horses carved onto its base, which are representative of his chariot as he circles the cosmos, bearing his light to the world. In this depiction of Surya, he is shown wearing boots, and this is among the first examples of stitched clothing in India, which until then had a long tradition of the unstitched and the draped. Kartikeya, late Gupta period, 7th century of the Common Era. Kartikeya, also known as Subramanya or Murugan, is the son of Shiva and Parvati, who was believed to have taken birth to destroy the demon Tarakasura. In this mighty sculpture from the late Gupta period, Kartikeya appears adorning tiger claws, which is an iconic feature of the deity. Revered as the god of war, especially in the southern regions of the subcontinent, he is typically represented as an ever-youthful man riding an Indian peacock. With this, we come to the end of our specially curated tour of the key highlights of the Bihar Museum's striking and plural collection. This tour is just the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot more to explore and absorb. The wealth of the treasure trove of India's historical past and present. So please feel free to walk around and create new pathways and journeys into India's cultural landscape. Thank you very much for joining us on this journey, and I hope you enjoyed the experience of unraveling the wonder that is Bihar. This is Alka Pandey, art historian and curator, wishing you a lovely day.